Hey, Survivor Radio. How are you holding up out there? I know that's a tough question right now. Hard to answer, really. Right now, it's next to impossible to really take stock of yourself and find out what you need beyond the basics. I get it. So, I'm going to start out, kind of just give you a report of what's been going on. And the first thing, I mean, there's stuff in this report that I think is going to be important. However, I need to get the nitty-gritty stuff, poor choice of words, out of the way. So, do you remember a few weeks back when I asked what happened to all the pets? Well, this portion of the update is going to be pretty grim, pretty disgusting, and pretty disappointing. So if you need a nope out of this, I totally get that. If you need to just turn off the radio this time round, that makes sense too. But I feel it's important to share information so that way we all know what we're dealing with as we work together. So if you don't want to hear the report, understandable. 100%. Okay. So, I packed up some of my stuff and I headed east. Up to the mountain where uni is. You can see it pretty much anywhere you go in the valley. And it's a lot closer than the prison, that's for sure. You know, only a couple hours of a walk. I didn't pack everything, but I still wanted to be prepared just in case. And of course, I brought the crowbar. I feel like I should name the crowbar, but at this point, it's just shame if I don't have it with me. I'm just anxious if it's not in my hand. Not a big fan of that, but at the same time, what are you going to do? So I packed some food, change of clothes, just in case, if you get stuck, and I headed out. Should only take me a couple hours and play it safe. Something that we have to consider, though, is that there are more violent ones out there. 1 is a fluke, 2 can't be a coincidence, and 3 chasing you down to an alley, forcing you to a playground covered in birds. That's just fate. Anyways, again, wanted to avoid walking the main streets, kind of crisscross my path, twisting and turning, so that way, if something did start chasing me, it'd be easier to lose someone. And, yeah, I'm still holding out on hope that there are people still in there. That the humans are just stuck, not in full control. Even the violent ones are something we need to worry about, but there still might be a chance for them. I mean, maybe. After what you hear, maybe you'll change your mind. So I turned a corner, an hour, maybe 2, into my trip. Although my definition of time is not necessarily what we should all be relying on at this point in time. So it could have been 10 minutes. Just continuing to head east from the college, and I know I'm pretty close to Sugar House at this point, and something just smelled awful. This potent stench of rot filled the air. And honestly, I had thought I had found another grocery store situation. But something this powerful, I feel like I would have smelled it earlier. Curious, I followed it. But when you're outside, it's actually really hard to pinpoint where a smell is coming from. It didn't take me long, though, to turn into this dead-end alleyway that a bunch of houses made. And, well, there they all were. A pile of them. Red. Bitten into. Eaten and tossed aside. Flies are swarming in an amount large enough to cast a shadow. Even wasps were, scavenging the bits that weren't eaten. I couldn't look away. I just had to confirm that this was a reality, that I was seeing this. I mean, who could do this to animals? As I was trying to cope, it's a good word for it, I found myself taking steps towards this small hill. In retrospect, it obviously was so that way I could learn more. Hopefully find out if my eyes were lying to me. My mind was just racing. What in the hell is going on? Why am I moving forward? I fought my legs, moving forward with my willpower. But I couldn't stop myself. I just made my steps stagger as I moved closer to this massacre. Once I was closer, I could see claw marks, but not sharp-pointed ones. I could see large teeth dragging lines against flesh and fur. And this obviously isn't some prize that an animal has left behind. No. It could only have been made by humans. But animal might be the best term for whoever did this. Rotted and fresh, all mixed together. The longer I stood there, the more I realized that no longer could I smell the putrid odor from it. I had gotten desensitized. Not only that, I was hypnotized. The next step sounded like I stepped into a puddle. And it was. Just a red one. My shoes are still stained. I might just have to throw away the pair. I mean, how long do you look for? I could have been there for hours. In reality, it was probably only minutes, but I just got lost in the gore of the creatures that could have caused this. Every last puppy, mouse, cat, bird, all rounded up. Maybe they still have some sort of recognition. But what others are able to follow is that violent tendency that we push down. The things that you can't do when you're a person with empathy. Maybe only sociopaths can still drive while affected by the event. While everyone else is trapped fighting such cruelty, remembering what it means to love thy neighbor, or the golden rule. While my imagination was rampant, I heard a raven caw at me. I looked up, and on top of these houses, a few of them were watching me. No more than 4 or 5 ravens. So I did the next logical thing and I ran. Did I run because my senses finally came back to me, or because I was just scared of the birds and what they could do next? Even now, I'm having a hard time coming to some sort of conclusion. Get me a therapist and a few weeks of processing, and I might even be able to give you an answer. But I ran for a few blocks, and any time that I closed my eyes, I could still see this mass of gore and hate. The will and intent to do harm. If this other is cognizant, maybe the birds did me a favor. They are very smart creatures after all. Or so I've read. So if you're heading my direction, avoid 13th East and Yale. Just save yourself the trouble. You'll thank me later. When I finally ran out of breath, I remember throwing up. Tears just running down my face. I really hate throwing up. It's an awful experience, and it just drains me physically. My whole body convulses as my stomach just pushes everything away. Back when, anytime I was sick, and I was young, I would lay down and read some comics. I grew up poor, and I didn't get to buy them, week to week or anything. I just had a shoebox of the same comics, and I would read those over and over again, seeing those same pages and adventures, never knowing how it was supposed to end or even who these characters were. But I remember so many times my fever-rattled brain would just take those stories and finish them, or put me in them with the giant metal men fighting for the fate of the world, entering beyond the veil of reality, saving the day and being so strong that being that sick didn't stop me, couldn't stop me. I was invincible. By God, I really hope we can go back to the way things were beforehand. When I threw up, I just wanted to curl up right there and nap. Sleep until all of this was over. But that stronger side of me, the side that tells you can make it a few more feet, it wouldn't let me stop. Wouldn't let me stop thinking about what had made that disgusting shrine to violence. And then logic kicked in, and I realized that the one who had done all of this was probably still nearby and resting, here and now. And I wasn't going to let myself be added to that pile. So I stood up, moved the nausea back, and I kept marching forward. It was really hard to do. But the more I moved and the farther I moved away from the space, I felt clear and far less sick. If only it was that easy every time I got sick. I've got more to tell you. I need a minute. So give me just... Why don't you go drink some water? I'm gonna do the same thing. You just hang on. Okay, Gabe. Okay. Whew. If you got more to say, everything's gonna be okay. You're safe here. You're boarded up. Nothing's gonna get in. You're safe. You'll see it for miles. Drink some water. Take care of yourself. Whew. You've got this, Gabe. You've got this. All right. Tell the people what's going on, what you found out. That's all that we need to do. Halfway there. Okay, cool. All right, perfect. Whew. All right. You got water? Because that's really important. Yeah. Stay hydrated. So after all of that, it didn't take long to reach Base Douglas. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest. Well, that's not really true. I had hoped to find the secrets just laid bare before me. Why do we even say that? Why do we even say, I don't know what I was expecting? Like, obviously you had to be expecting something, weren't you? Like, it... Never mind. If you want my ramblings, you can come find me. I found a few offices pretty quickly. Easy to find, you know. And the crowbar came in handy. Broke open some doors, opened up some filing cabinets with just ease. Like, dang. More uses than the obvious, I guess. I'll admit, I found some interesting stuff. Stuff that I wasn't aiming to find, but, you know, interesting things. Like, for instance, did you know that the Salt Lake region has a series of tunnels underneath the city? Yeah, apparently it was made by the Pilgrim settlers from forever ago. And occasionally they even asked the Royal Army to help monitor those tunnels when they were escorting, like, high priority targets through them or something. Like, if like, a minister or something was passing through. Interesting stuff. But, you know, so much for separation of crown and cross. Not much to do about that now, since, you know, there's a rapture about. Most of the stuff, however, I found was really just things that you expect to find: dispatch requests, transfers, dismissals, letters of recommendations with a CV attached. Exciting, I know. I did, however, find a few computers, but surprise, surprise. Yeah, you're right. There wasn't any power. How was I going to run these computers? I did see they have some of those backup batteries, but obviously those had dried up long ago. Looking through the files, it was pretty easy to learn their org chart, you know. Following that, I found the highest representative's office that I could, a Brigadier Messinger. Messinger? Yeah. Sorry, family of the Messingers. But I packed up his computer, and I also took the batteries. Yeah, I think they call them ups. I figure with the solar panels that I've got, I can charge them up and have more backups ready. It never hurts to be prepared. It's what they teach you when you're young, right? So once I grabbed those, and they were heavy, I headed straight back to home base. My home base, that is. Avoided 13th. Like the saying like the plague feels rather insensitive now, doesn't it? Regardless, I gave it a wide berth. I made it to home base without any ravens or other situations. And I powered up the computer, and it's encrypted. I'm not sure if this is like a film where it will destroy itself or lock me out after a few attempts. But we planned for this. Refer to last time when I said I wanted to be a hacker and say, I'm in. So, before I even headed out, I picked up a series of books on scripting and code breaking, ethically and unethically. Unfortunately, this is insanely boring. Most of the hacking is done by calling someone up and just saying, hey, I'm with IT, can you give me your login info? And we are dumb enough to give that information up. Hacking in the 21st century, I guess. Unfortunately for me, I've got no IT person to call. So we are going to do this battering ram style, where it literally tries every possible variation. Again, assuming it won't lock me out after so many attempts. However, I found another program that I'm reading about that could trick the CPU into thinking that there's only been a certain amount of attempts, where every time that we try a password, it resets the BIOS. Riveting stuff. I'm sure. I'm sorry. I'm starting to get rambly, and we both know how that's going to end up. I'll just wrap this up then. I'm working on getting the data from this computer, and once I do, I'll report back. If you can, avoid 13th and Yale if you're walking about. Remember, you aren't alone, and you don't have to be. If you need to be found, just let me know. Start a fire or something. I'll come to you. I'm waiting on a computer. Good luck out there. Stay safe. This is Gabe Blythe, signing out.